All right. One of my favorite books by Sue, by far, was her EFT and Trauma book. So I'm excited. Not only is this kind of a time of year when we kind of celebrate and connect with friends and family, we get the new publication coming out here soon of the EFT and Trauma book. We'll talk more about that in this show, and we have a special guest with us today.
Welcome to the Leading Edge in Emotionally Focused Therapy with your hosts, Dr. James Hawkins and Dr. Ryan Rana. EFT is a dynamic model that humbles even the most seasoned therapists. Together, we want to come alongside you as you continually push the leading edge of your understanding and application of this wonderful model developed by Dr. Sue Johnson.
Yes, indeed. We are going to be talking about EFT and trauma. And today I have a special guest with me, the one and only Leanne Campbell is here with us to talk about her new text. Let's welcome her. Yay, Leanne.
It's so nice. Thank you for having me.
It really is an honor, Leanne. I just want to, as always, it's customary for us on our show. We like to start off and thank therapists and the listeners because, once again, in our profession, we don't always get to be celebrated openly sometimes. And our work, we go into hard places with clients and we close the door. And sometimes only our clients and us know the sacrifices we make and the hard work. So I think today, I was going to thank therapists, but I don't want to put you on the spot, Leanne, but thank you. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you for in a time that was very pivotal for ICEEFT with the passing of Sue. Thank you for you, Gail, John, and the board, and all the other many trainers for the ways you stepped in. You took care of us as trainers. You took care of the community leaders. And, I know there could be different frustrations, but thank you for always having the heart of us as therapists and our clients in the front of your heart. So thank you, Leanne.
Oh my goodness, Jane. You're so beautiful and sincere always. Thank you. It honestly is a pleasure and a privilege and an honor. And I'm so grateful about the many ways that so many people came together and come together, and that this model continues to swell around the globe. And so truly, I am grateful.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Thank you, Leanne. I think that's your thank you. Well, we're going to definitely talk about your new text, the new book that you and Sue worked on. But, I want to start a new tradition, and it makes sense that I'm going to start it here with Leanne. And sometimes Ryan and I will talk about this, but since this is the leading edge, we want you to know everybody has a leading edge. And I don't care who you are, how long you've been doing EFT. In the intro, my wife Nicola always says EFT is a dynamic model that humbles even the most seasoned therapists, because EFT always keeps you sitting on the edge of your seat to be in the present moment emerging experience. So we're always getting better and thinking about things. At the last trainers retreat, talking to Leanne and George and other great dynamic EFT trainers from around the world about getting more focus in EFT. Even though we all feel comfortable in what we're doing, we're just trying to get the nuance of it. But here's what I want. Here's a question I want to ask Leanne Campbell. What is your leading edge in EFT right now that you are working on, and how are you going about working on that, Leanne?
Well, I love this question, James. And truly, I shared this with Sue a lot
Hmm.
in recent years. I think our leading edge was really to get clearer about the model, get
Hmm.
clearer about what we were doing. One of the ways that we wrote the primer, we did the same in the trauma book
Hmm.
to offer moment by moment commentary about what we were doing and why, and getting really specific and clear. And honestly, it's you, James,
Oh.
and George and Ryan and the SV team and all of you who are really kind of pushing me.
Uh-huh.
And I think push Sue too together. We
Oh.
felt that and appreciated that it helps us to get clear, make the model more accessible.
Oh, thank you. And, I that's the part that always impressed me about Sue is she didn't create an environment around her to say, only verify what I want to hear. She really created an environment and team around her to say, challenge me, push
Yes.
me, and what is the research actually saying? Yeah. So thank you, Leanne. No, great. That's great. So yeah, I would say too. I think I'm in that place too, Leanne. I think, people who have been hearing me talk. I am the thing that I'm getting better at is inviting is exploring and in looking at what's going on with the caregiving response. Because I love that quote by Sue. It's a response from the therapist is like a flashlight, but a
Yeah.
response from their partner is like a stadium floodlight. And so, how many times am I trying to put burdens on me to help particularly when I'm working with couples, where I'm trying to rescue them out instead of saying, "Hey, I'm wondering what's happening in the heart of your partner as they witness this place with you. Like, what's going on in your body as you see your partner's fear or pain or struggle right here, right now, and what is your body wanting to do?" Staying in that place and directly inviting the caregiving response to either one, get a response, or it might turn into a block, but that still is information for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's again in conversation with you and with George and
Mm.
with Ryan
Mhm.
that I'm really way more attuned to that and thinking about that in
Aw.
a different way. And I think it was in our conversation in October where it came to me that really when we say trust the process,
Yes.
saying trust the caregiving system,
Yes.
that if emotion is alive in the room
Yeah.
and there's a possibility of connection, we can 100% rely on
Aw.
that.
Well, I could go on and on about that, but here's why I
Yes,
have to have
me too.
discipline. Is because you have a new book coming out, EFT and Trauma. So here's what I want to ask you. If you could sit with a newer EFT, well, no, I'm going to skip on that question for a moment. Here's where I want to go. What was it like working on that text with Sue?
Uh, yeah. Inspiring and clarifying.
Hmm.
Yeah. And exciting, exhilarating. I won't say all encompassing because we had so many goals
Hmm.
and tasks at hand. And in fact, the trauma book took a back seat at times when we were really focused on filming and trainings and
Oh.
developing other aspects of EFIT.
Mhm.
But it was, as you'll read in the acknowledgments and the preface, it was well underway before we lost a giant in the field of psychotherapy and
Mm.
of course, our dear Sue.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was amazing. I loved it. And we've always been interested and focused on trauma, even
Mhm.
when couple therapy was at the forefront in the early days of the inception of the model. And trauma has always been near and dear to me. And then when Sue moved to the west coast of Canada with John and her family, she became involved in our practice. And her sign is down
Aw.
here. I have a photo with George from October that
Aw.
I'll send to you after this. And yeah, so we really had so many conversations about trauma. And I
Mm.
think in the backdrop of her goals was updating the trauma book, which is also one of my favorites, absolutely. And yeah, took a bit of time, but here we now have it. Just in
Mhm.
a week before her birthday.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you for that. One of my favorite lines from that text, it even helps me when I use like this EFT framework around issues around, oppression or marginalization, particularly around race, is like sometimes people from minoritized or minority or oppressed people groups, when they try to speak out, about pain, sometimes people respond back with like facts or data. Well, the GDP or this and that, and 500 years. And I'm like, wait, hold on. And I remember in Sue's book, she's like, I'm paraphrasing here. It's like, if I make a bid to you or I share my emotion to you, and you respond back to me with fact or reason, it's as though you did not hear me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because an emotional bid is not like you don't soothe an emotional bid with like a factual type just data answer. This goes
Yeah.
back to Sue's ARE. It's, are you accessible? Are you responsive? And are you being willing to be emotionally engaged? But
Yeah. I love what you're saying, and I know that we're trying to be disciplined, but
We
takes me
can't
back
do
to the
it. We
same
can't do it.
conversation about the caregiving system.
Mhm.
The only way we can reliably trust it is to keep people in the same channel. And what I hear you saying,
Hmm.
yeah, people are responding from a different channel.
Oh, I like that. Another clarifying. You gotta be in this. You have to respond in the same channel if you're gonna meet that signal. Okay.
Exactly.
So let me get ask this then. What do you see now is with this text or just kind of where you are in, what do you see is like kind of like that cutting edge or that leading edge place in regards to EFT and maybe our growth in trauma work?
I think the question that comes up repeatedly is how do I help my clients move through trauma without re-traumatizing them?
Yeah.
And I think a big part of the answer is in us and using ourselves as temporary attachment figures
Mm,
and really getting clear about how we sing this song and
mm,
dance this dance of attunement that really helps us keep our clients at their leading edge without overshooting or undershooting their window of tolerance or their capacity, whatever term you want to use,
mm,
but always moving them towards stretching it. Because if you think about emotion,
mhm,
well, in the trauma book, we wrote about emotion linking self and experience. And it's um, as we've always said, the key target and agent of change. So
huh.
helping clients to move into their internal experience, begin to know it and trust it, and broaden it is what helps clients essentially come home to themselves.
Wow. In a way, I love the clarity in that answer. And then the beginning part of it shouldn't surprise me that, Leanne, you do such a phenomenal job. And I want, like you and Catherine Ream, y'all have been mentors to me and y'all do a lot of trauma work. And I didn't realize how much of an influence, like people as James, like you're always organizing, James. You're letting your client know where you are and where you're going and why you're doing. And like, where did that come from? And I started review. I was like, oh, because you and Catherine always like with a traumatized nervous system, you have to become predictable. One. And then I love that in the beginning of your answer here, you said it really starts with us. And you do that with your clients who are in really traumatized situation. Leanne, you bring yourself forward so well. So I know it and I've seen it. But for our listeners, when you say it begins with us, what does that look like for Leanne in your way of working with EFT and trauma? How do you bring you like how does it begin with you?
Well, I think first and foremost, of course, creating safety, a safe
Hmm.
haven, secure base alliance, absolutely, is the clinical priority, and also never taking it for granted.
Mm,
Always tuning in, checking in with our clients, always, but especially when we work with trauma, what was that like?
mm,
Um, Connecting with our clients toward the end of the session and helping them transition into the world, whatever that looks like for them. And for some of them, it
mm,
might be ongoing
mm,
likelihood of exposure. For example, even working with first responders, that it would be the case potentially. And then, of course, well, maybe not of course, but because I think it's more and more, I think this is part of my leading edge,
oh.
is really recognizing how clients and couples are the perfect example of this. How, for example, when with a couple who's reactive,
Mhm.
I tune into my felt experience and then I use that to guide my next intervention.
Whoa, that was a sentence, you all. That was a key sentence. Is when they are reactive, you use your felt sense of their reactivity to guide your next intervention. That's y'all write that phrase down. Wow, and I like that. So when you say that, like you said, you use your felt experience. What does that mean? What does that look like for you?
Well, for example, I imagine well, I'm in the room, so
That's
I
it.
know what it feels like. And instead of, addressing it in any other way, I
Mhm,
slow everything down, use my voice,
mhm,
ask the partner in that moment when your partner da 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 da. And I tune into every single process element that I know has impacted me. The eye,
oh,
the look in the eye, the raised eyebrow, the tone of the voice, the everything. And I'm doing it for two reasons. One is to validate the partner on the receiving end,
Hmm.
and the second is to increase awareness of the partner who is delivering that, because that's their nervous system reacting without them knowing they're reacting, most typically in the context of trauma.
Mm. So let me get that. That's a good one. So it begins with us. And what you do is you key into all the factors that are then also touching or awakening your nervous system. And you just make it super explicit for one, even the person feeling it, but also the other person on the receiving end to make it clear. And I have seen you do that. You're like, I see that with you. I feel that right here, right now, even as your voice drops. And one of your favorite phrases, Leanne, that I like is when people are really struggling. Here's what I've seen you do. It's, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
Can I go there with you? Can I be with you? I'm right here with you. And when you send them to encounters or enactments, you're like, can I turn with you as you share this? Can I go into that scary room where that little girl, can I be with her? And there's something about that with, and you just keep saying it. And I think it hits the nervous system because it says to the client, my therapist isn't sending me to go do something. My therapist is going with me to do something. I don't know.
Mhm.
That's just something that's always stuck with me.
Yeah, and I think it's attachment science, and of course, the work of Bowlby and Sue and others who remind us that nobody encounters vulnerability alone. And I
Mm.
think, the focus of your work as well was success and vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And as I understand it,
Yep.
success is only success when we're not alone. We can never
Oof.
be vulnerable alone.
There you go. We have to. We're gonna change our tagline. Leanne. Success is only success when you're not alone. I love it. Georgia like that one. Can I transition to the next question? Because that just hits me. Even your comfortability. And that's something I've always appreciated about you, Leanne. You don't keep your clients' distress away from you. You one time when you were on the show, I said, Leanne, when things get really reactive, what's going on inside of you? And you're like, bring it towards me. All your anger and frustration. I'm like, that's a bold statement. But when I'm thinking about it as a new maybe EFT therapist that's working with trauma, and they're getting overwhelmed in the work with trauma, what do you want them to hear from this book that might help them?
Yeah, I think that there is a path, that
Mm.
we have a map and a method, and to give ourselves space and grace to move through that process. And that if we think about what we're doing in EFIT, we talk about expanding the self.
Mhm.
In EFT, more generally, we talk about moving our clients into a felt sense of security with themselves and others. And when our clients have lived in a world that has been dangerous, or somehow colored by deprivation and
Mm.
oppression,
Mm.
marginalization, it makes perfect sense that it's going to take time, and that we can pace the process accordingly. And yeah, in the context of trauma, oftentimes people will do a piece of work, they'll take a break, and it makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
We think, again, attachment theory is a developmental theory and a theory of
Hmm.
personality, that people move and grow and then they integrate and consolidate. Our model is set up for that, but I think we don't always, I think sometimes we feel a sense of urgency
Yeah.
that maybe puts pressure on us, because we can feel and know our client's pain, and we
Mm.
want to help them move through it.
Mhm.
And I think just to really trust
Hmm.
the process, and to respect, I think, the time
Yeah.
it takes.
I like that. I like you said that when we did our intergenerational trauma course, you said
Yes,
something of, we always want to respect the window of tolerance while we try to stretch the window of tolerance. It's a both
exactly.
and, right?
Mhm.
Oh, that's good. I love that.
And I think that is the question that comes up most, is how do we stretch it
Yeah.
without, of course, we're all in this profession. We don't want to do harm.
Yeah.
We want to help our clients and be of benefit.
Hmm. And once again, I know it might be different for, different therapists, a therapist, client to client, situation. But just I want to stay there. So like, what are some indicators that tells Leanne, like, I think it's safe to deepen? Or maybe it's not clear, like it is safe. It's like maybe I just have to create some safety. But like, what are indicators that tells you like it's okay to deepen right now with this maybe person that's dealing with trauma?
Yeah, I think I pay attention to window of tolerance
Mhm.
within the session, but also in the person's broader
Mhm.
sociocultural family context where, all it, and we do that. We tune into that with care, like we've talked about together, James, many times. And then within the session, I pay close attention to what's happening inside of me. And I use
Mm.
that as a guide and an instrument in the process. And I pay very close attention to all the process elements that help us to know where our clients are emotionally and relationally. If we're working with couples, I pay attention to the partner in the room at the degree to which that person is a resource. In EFT, I pay close attention to the capacity of the client, what's happening. And I when I listen to myself, I find myself over and over and over again getting emotion up and running in
Mhm.
moves 1 and 2, first ordering it and assembling it and then deepening it,
Mhm.
and then letting the client know. Transparency offers agency, so letting the client know that this is what we're doing. Sue talked about that as well, that, the best surgeon won't just, or the
Mm.
anesthesiologist is going
Mm.
to tell you what's going to happen.
Yep.
And then inviting the person to stay there as long as they possibly can.
Whoa, that's a good one. So I like that. I want to catch that sequence. The order, assembly, deepen, but and then also you're not only you paying attention to them, but you're paying attention to what's happening in you. So how what a holistic, and I hope the reason I want to draw that in when I go to trainings, and I get why people are asking, like, what do I do to the client? It's like, hey, before you want to just do something to the client, don't skip your nervous system. Your nervous system is always trying to inform you about what's happening in the room, just like we teach our clients that. And so the best part of that's going to inform your next intervention is your own nervous system. If you skip your nervous system, you're behind on your next intervention. Is something I've said. So that's about the third time I've heard you say, I pay attention to me. I pay attention to me. I pay attention to me. You don't just skip over yourself, which is probably really huge in trauma work. Yeah.
Yes. And if you feel quote unquote resistance,
Hmm.
I always offer an explanation for why
Uh,
we're doing what we're doing. So then the client has agency and
that's right.
predictability.
I like that. Transparency gives agency. We just did a podcast with Nicole on transparent. I wish I would have had that quote, but I liked it. And I got that from Lisa. Lisa always pushed me she said, James, just be transparent. If you're having an emotional reaction in session, just make it known to your client. And one, it'll help your body restabilize, but it also lets them be in the process with you. But I like yours now. Transparency gives agency, which is really big for the traumatized because somebody took away in a non-transparent way, took away their agency.
Exactly. And then also lots of summaries and reflections offers us an anchor and our clients.
Okay. Well, that definitely took care of one of my questions because Leanne, you are so brave. And I think you said one time, Sue said, Leanne, you are sure impatient because you are ready to go for that emotion. But even here, but I see now, because I was going to say, how do you help regulate that sense of bravery that you have to welcome the distress with deepening them too quick? But part of it is you're paying attention to them and to you to not go too far too fast, is what you're doing there.
Exactly. And we have a whole host of interventions that can allow us to back up and slow down. Reflections, validation, slicing it thinner, processing, the part of you that can move forward in this way, that can take it in, the part of you that cannot.
Mm, okay. Well, I think those questions help me get it overall. Let me say this too. Let me ask, like, I want to get into the practical part maybe of this interview for a moment and hit some of those trauma questions I've heard on the road. So, one that kind of comes up is you want to be careful of not making the session and the struggles in the couple's relationship. You don't want to make it about, oh, well, the trauma, like always, like the trauma is the problem, and the other partner just has to be there to help the person who's gone through trauma to help them heal. So how do you help couples maybe have an empathic understanding of trauma, and that trauma responses are not really character flaws, but they are survival strategies?
Hmm. Yeah. in one of the Q&As I was doing with Sue,
Mm.
we would riff, and it came to me that validation is our form of psychoeducation, really. And
Mm.
so when we validate the reactivity or the response of one partner, that offers a way of seeing that behavior or that response through the lens of attachment, which can be validating for the partner, but it also offers, so for the person, sorry, but it also offers the partner an understanding that this reactivity or this response or this way of being and relating has a
Mhm.
history outside the relationship, which takes some of the blame that that person has often felt off,
Mm.
and it engenders compassion for both partners.
Oh, that is good. I want to share an example. I had this maybe a couple months ago in a marriage intensive. And the person, in a way, let's see, I want to keep this story general in a way, but I mean, this one we hear a lot in counseling of like being that young child and their emotions being kind of felt attacked and they were made to feel super small, like you're too much. And just, and I remember like the other partner was like, I can never figure it out. She's always this and she's this and that. And like, I'm like, whew. So, and then the partner, she's like, yeah, I don't want to have to tell you what I need. You should just figure it out. And I was like, I can never figure it out. Every time I guess, I'm just always, and I said, hey, can I try on what I think I'm seeing? Which is, by the way, a Sue line, if anybody's ever heard. Sue's like, can I try on what I think I'm seeing? I was like, oh, I just picture that little girl growing up in her home and she would
Yeah.
have pain and she would have needs that would come up. But when they would come up and she would express them, instead of being met with comfort, she was met with conflict that told she was too bad and too much. And not only was that, and so now, and that little girl learned that rep after rep after rep, that to have need and vocalize it. Not only are you already hurting, it could bring more pain and rejection. And so, what now, tell me if I'm getting this right. It is so intuitive of you now to not take the risk, to put it out there so directly. Because my guess, and tell me if I'm getting this right, that if he could guess at it, if he could figure it out, then maybe it shows he's willing and it's a little bit safer. So I get the good reasons why you don't want to tell him. You're not trying to be difficult. You're not playing the game of like the where you put the ball under the cup and guess where it is. You're
Mhm.
not trying to do that. But this is your strategy to not have your heart be hurt where it's already hurting. Am I getting kind of close? And she was like, yes. And he looked at me like, I never looked at it that way. And so it was, would that be an example of maybe saying like, hey, this is a strategy. And then it did evoke empathy for the partner. And also it got her to have some more like, oh, because I did say to her, but if we stay here and you never say it, then you're going to have to be just relying on him figuring it out. And what is that like for you waiting for him to figure it out while you trying to protect your heart? She's like, well, that's been difficult. So I get why it's hard to do something different. I get it. I don't know.
James, that is so beautiful. And that evokes compassion, the antidote to all the
Mm-hmm.
shame and blame that so commonly accompanies trauma.
Thank you, Leanne. Well,
Yeah,
thank you for
that's
helping setting examples. But is some of that scene work sometimes? And even like I liked when we talked in at the trainers retreat, we talked about not just parts, but I like your use of versions because even that helped her. I
yes,
said, hey, there was this version of you
yes,
developmentally at that time that this is
yes.
all she knew, but now there's
Mhm.
another version of you that's
Mhm.
older, wiser, and stronger, but still has the fears of that little girl that are present. What would the older, wiser version of you say? And that was another one that helped her.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you
That's
for
so
the versions language, Lee, and that helped me out big time.
yes. Well, again, it's clarifying. You inspire me.
Uh,
Yes, it helped me too, that conversation.
oh man, Leanne, thank you so much. I feel like I need to get back in. All right. Um, I want to ask this one. This one, it's like I don't want to end this conversation. I wish I could just keep going and going and going. But like if somebody remembered only one thing from this book, if they just carried away one, like, man, what is the one thing, Leanne, that you wish that they would hold on to from this text?
I think hope
Ooh,
and belief,
hope and belief.
and of the power and potential of human connection and healing. And Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's what we would both say. That's what Sue would say too, I think.
Oh, that touched you. Oh, that hope.
Yeah, I think because uh, well, the book, finishing the book without Sue
Mm.
has been emotional. There's that, but then also just, we debated various titles, and one of them was around stories of hope and resilience. And so that's part of what we want this book to be, is a story of
Oh,
inspiration for clinicians, but also of hope and,
thank you
yeah,
for
hope.
highlighting resilience in the trauma work. I love that. Hope. You're not just stuck in what happened to you, but there's hope. There's hope. Yeah. And that's something about I appreciate your heart, you know. You definitely embody that for your clients. That hope. And hoping for them and hoping for humanity, hoping for this model, hoping for the trainers, community leaders, all that hope. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for that piece of I'll say it again, but I'm thankful to you, to Gail, to John, to Jim Furrow, to the whole board, just the way y'all you kept the fire of Sue alive. Cause she was a fire. But it makes me think of like an Olympic fire, right? It's like this, like it's about unity. It's about this like coming together to accomplish great things, a sense of source of hope and inspiration to the world that we can all participate in this great thing together. And I appreciate Sue for inviting, like, and I think that's what she did. Like, she invited you into the EFIT work. She's invited you into this Trump. She's invited us all. Like we all are here because in some point, especially the early trainers, like Sue invited us. And then she invited trainers who are now inviting new trainers, in a way. And we're inviting new communities. It was amazing when John at the trainers retreat was like finding out about all the communities we didn't even know about that have formed. But yeah, just thank you for just carrying that and finish. I can imagine what it was like for you to finish that work with that significant attachment figure, not being able to be right by your side. But as Sue would say, I know she's a cast of one of the cast of
Yeah.
characters in your head that you carry with you, Leanne.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. And I know this might sound, but if I were to like embody in maybe words from Sue as I'm sitting in the room and someone's dealing with a narrative of trauma, I wonder what might, like, even for you, like, what do you hear Sue's voice say to you when you're maybe working with that traumatized client? I know I'm going off script here, but I love embodying people's voice. Like I hear your voice in sessions sometimes, and George, and all the many trainers, even the ones I saw in videos from. I remember when I first met Lisa. I said, "Lisa, you're an OG." She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're an original gangster." Like I remember listening to you to learn EFT at the beginning. But anyway, back to you. But like, what do you hear Sue's voice say to you in some of those moments working with trauma?
Well, um, well, the words that come to mind
Hmm.
most immediately as you were sharing so beautifully is it's not you. You are not your trauma. Your trauma does not need to define you. And I don't, we don't say that initially, but as we move through the process, our clients say it to us. I am not my trauma. My trauma no longer defines me. I can be separate from what happened to me.
That makes so much sense. That does typify EFT. That's what we do in stage two, right? Where that negative view of self, the thing we fear, becomes our identity. I'm worthless. I'm not enough. I'm a failure. I'm inept. Then all of a sudden, it's like this is a fear I have. It's not who I am. And the only way
Mm.
we find out the difference in that is when we're able to, one, confront it ourselves and invite others to confront it with us. And that way we don't. I liked how one pursuer, she taught me this. When we get the words of others to replace the words that we have carried around in our heads about ourselves.
Brilliant. I love it.
Of
And
course.
that's what offers hope.
Ah, thank you. So that's what the hope is that you're hoping for there. Leanne, let's before we go, so the book I think it's out now. Amazon told me mine is on the way. I've seen
Great. Fantastic.
I've seen some people there was a holiday party and they had gave away. I saw people with the EFT trauma book at the holiday giveaway party. But yeah, I think you can get it on Amazon, probably most of your local book places. You can go online. You can get it. Hey, you know what? We probably need to have a EFT and Trauma, like have a book reading party and get together in groups and communities and talk about what we're learning. But Lee, I think you're having like a book launch party. Can you tell us maybe more about when that is? And I'll make sure to get a link and we can put it in the show notes here so people can be at that book launch party.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes, it's January 8th, 2026, in person and online at here in Victoria. And we're going to hear the voices of our one and only George Fowler, Mario McAllister, Jim Burrow, yes, and David Fairweather, and Gail Palmer. So yeah, really excited to gather and to celebrate, as Eliza says, one of our amazing ICEEFT team members, a moment in history, Sue's last formal publication.
Yeah, that felt that one. Yeah, I feel like I just want to grab the book for an attachment significance now. Yeah, like what were like some of those last formal thoughts that Sue was going to give away to the world.
Exactly. Her parting gift, Jim Burrow said.
Parting gift. Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Leanne. Any last words, comments, thoughts that your heart wants to express? Are you good?
No, just enormous gratitude, honestly, for all you bring, James. You and your community and team members. And yeah, I love your podcast. I shared with you earlier that I listen to it all the time, and it's brilliant and inspiring and clarifying as well.
Thank you, Leanne. And y'all, thank you so much. And Ryan, hopefully we'll be able to get him back in studio here. We'll get back into our Stage 2 series, of which we also started a mini series within on caregiver nightmares. We'll be glad to have him back in. Thankful to Nicola for helping hold it down. Thank you, Leanne, for coming in. And once again, thank you all for letting us join you on your leading edge so you could join your clients on their leading edge, because we want them to be able to have success in their vulnerability. Thank you once again. Appreciate you all.
Thank you for listening. We hope this experience helps you push the leading edge in your work to help people connect with themselves and with each other. Please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a 5-star review. You can contact us at pushtheleadingedge@gmail.com, and you can follow us on our Facebook page at Push the Leading Edge. You can follow Ryan on Facebook at Ryan Rana Professional Training and on his website, ryanranatraining.com. You can follow James on Facebook and Instagram at DocHawkLPC. You can also check out his website, DocHawkLPC.com.